Hi there, and welcome to Naturally Recovering Autism. I am your host, Karen Thomas, and I want to thank you so much for being here and being a proactive parent and getting the resources that you need to let your child live their most fulfilling and independent life possible. When my own son was diagnosed with autism, I was told to drug him and try behavioral therapies, and there was nothing else that we could do for him but manage his symptoms the rest of his life. But I didn't want to do that. Fortunately, my background in craniosacral therapy of now 30 years let me know that the brain can and does heal, but I didn't know that much about autism. What I did know is that I didn't want to just mask the symptoms with dangerous drugs. I wanted to find the causes and work with them naturally. And fast forward, it took me a decade and a lot of time and effort, but today my son is no longer diagnosable with autism after being told it could not happen. So I'm here to share with you valuable resources to save you the time and some of the expense that I had to spend to figure it out, and to help you let your child lead to their best results possible. Every child's level of recovery is different, but we know that children who couldn't sleep through the night are sleeping now through the night and happily. Their immune systems are now strong where they were once sick all the time. Children who were nonverbal and their parents were told they could never speak are now speaking. Children who were getting D's and F's in school are getting A's and B's. And those that were so anxious all the time and couldn't sit still and were uncomfortable in their own bodies are now calm and happy and relaxed. And they're leading fulfilling and independent lives with friends. This is what we want for our kids. So I'm here to share the resources with you so that you can get the best results for your child, the best possible. And you can start that right now with my free download of the top 7 foods to eliminate beginning today, of the top foods that are the most inflammatory and toxic that are contributing to those physical and behavioral symptoms of autism that your child is having. They're making his life uncomfortable. So you can get that right now at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/7 foods. And feel free to share that with anybody you know who would be interested. And I will also link to it in today's show notes. There's, of course, a lot more than diet, but this is something you could start doing today that will begin to reduce those symptoms. And I'm happy to share everything I can with you. So right now, let's dive into today's episode. Hi there, and welcome back once again. And thank you for being here, being such a great proactive parent, and doing all you can to help your child live to their full potential, because we know that children on the autism spectrum can live better lives than many are living today. When my son was diagnosed with autism, I was told we should drug him and try behavioral therapies, and there really wasn't much we could do. But fortunately, I forged ahead and knew that there were things that I could do for him. And it's a big fast forward, and I know many of you have heard my story, but today my son no longer has his symptoms of autism. And so now I'm here to share these resources with you to help your child live a better life, because I know, like you as a parent, you're struggling to help them in any way you can, and I want to provide the resources that can help you get your child to that level of recovery that they deserve. And one of the things that's really, really beneficial, along with, of course, healing the biology and the toxic, load that we work with, et cetera, and is helping them socialize and helping them be healthy physically. And one of the things that I actually did with my own son and found it extremely beneficial, as many others have, has been martial arts. And today we are fortunate to have Loren with us. He is a sensei who has just released a new book called Martial Arts on the Autism Spectrum. And I'm going to let Al go ahead and let you, fill us in on. I know that you're very qualified to write this book, and you have had so much experience working with children on the autism spectrum, all the way up from childhood to adulthood. And also knowing that, studies do show the benefits of martial arts. One thing that I do know that is really helpful, I think, for kids on the autism spectrum too, is that they have the ability to work in a group setting, but they don't have to rely on everybody around them like they do on a soccer team, or the team doesn't. It's sort of individualized, but it's also very much about motor and planning skills, which are tremendously wonderful for the brain and their socialization, being in a group environment. But Al, you also have, in over 30 years, you taught over 300,000 classes. which is really amazing. In 1986, you were the national champion in karate, and I'll link to Al's resources and how you can reach him as well in the show notes today. But Al also has a practice, or he teaches in Marin County and San Francisco, California, just in case you're wondering where he's located. But today we're talking about the celebration and release of his new book. So welcome, Al. I can't wait to hear all about it.
Pleasure to be here, Karen. Thank you for having me. Yeah, my book was released recently this year in March, and it's been a project that's been going on with me that I've wanted to do for probably the last 10 or so years. And I really got motivated during COVID when I had a lot of downtime on my hands, and to see this project through. I'm a martial artist. I'm not an author by trade, but I did have something I felt very powerful to say about all my experiences, and especially in the demographic of working with kids, teens, and adults with autism, and also other neurodivergent issues as well, conditions. And I decided that I started writing the book about 5 or 6 years ago, and took a little break. And then I said, I've just got to get this done. And the reason I wrote the book is because I've taught thousands of classes in this demographic under the autism, shall we say, autism umbrella. And I've had many, many students, hundreds and hundreds of students, and I've probably taught between several thousand classes. I'm also mainstream. I teach martial arts, but this is my passion, working in the autism area and teaching. And I found I've been doing it for over 30 years, and teaching to people with autism and, like I said, other conditions related. And so I felt like I had a lot to say, and I started jotting it down, writing it down, and here we are with a book. And let's see, I'm really excited about the book. The book tells about my methods that I use that I've found successful, my experiences, some not so successful, but many are successful. And I just really have enjoyed the process of writing this book, and now being able to speak about it. And it talks about my interaction and the students' interactions with the aspects of martial arts that are beneficial to them. I've been able to tailor my training and teaching in order to capture this audience and to have it be effective for them. I have several or more vehicles that I use, or tools, and so I'll go into that a little bit. What I've really found that I've really found out in the last 30 years, during doing this teaching, that I'm a very patient person. And patience and is really, really important in working with the kids, teens, and young adults. I seem to connect to them for whatever reason. I kind of feel them. Not everybody. I'm not, I'm a little bit of the martial arts sensei autism whisperer, I would say, just because I connect and I get really good feedback from families, schools, centers, and everywhere that I teach at, that I'm working in this category, in this area.
We need more people like you, that's for sure.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and so what I'm saying is it comes natural to me, but the components or characteristics that I really lean on is patience, compassion, kindness, which is an offshoot of compassion, creativity, being able to 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 really know the energy and the chemistry of my class, which can change, and I do a lot of private one-on-one as well. Knowing in that moment that, okay, I need to uh, move a little bit to the left, to the right, to tack a little bit, and being very sensitive to, as if it's a class collectively, to the group of the class, and being able to navigate that way on a moment's notice, spontaneously. And I found that very, very helpful. And I feel like I have a softness within me that the that the people can that I really try to project, that my students can pick up on, so they know that I'm safe. And when they know that I'm safe, they are willing to listen and give their a really good effort. And I've had classes where I've had kids and teens have tantrums and all that, and it can be tough to bring them out of that moment. But for the most part, I really want them to know that I'm a mentor and that I'm safe, and I genuinely, sincerely, all my attention is devoted to them during that teaching time, and that I truly, truly care. I mean, this is my livelihood, and I do get paid to teach my classes at schools and centers, and my families that I work with, the privates that I go to their homes and work with them one-on-one. But I'm well educated. I have a degree. I could be, in the tech field or so. This is what I've been really blessed and fortunate to be able to do this for the last 32 years and to earn a living at it. And now, have a full practice. So my book talks about that. It talks about my background, my education. I was educated in my degree is not related to this. I have a Bachelor of Arts from the American University in Washington, D.C., in the School of International Service. So I guess I'm for the whole world, I guess you could say. But I mean, most people went into foreign diplomacy, foreign service. So I went into working with all different types of personalities, and it's been. I can't even tell you how rewarding it's been for me. I mean, somebody asked me, and everybody's got their beliefs and views about the world and their philosophies and their religions and everything. Somebody just, for some reason, the other day, something came up about, well, what would you like to be if you came back and you were reincarnated? And you know what I said? I mean, if there's such thing as reincarnation, I would like to come back as me, because I get to work.
Everybody should say or want to say.
Well, is either that or a hummingbird, because I love hummingbirds.
Oh, I love hummingbirds too.
On top of the list was me, and not that I'm so great or anything, but I'm really content and feel really fortunate to work with this demographic and to be successful at it, and to be invited by teachers and schools and get referrals from doctors and occupational therapists and physical therapists and families that refer me to other families, and it's just a whole pipeline. And that means a great deal to me, because that means my work is being effective and it's making a difference. And that's what I'm here to do, is to make a difference. Yes, I have to make a living and, pay the mortgage and food on the table like everybody else. But, for me, it's so much deeply a lot more than that. And that's
money well spent.
That's thank you.
Too. And that's look at how they spend their money.
And that's what my book's about. But I talk about the socialization, of how it's good for the kids to collectively, like I have one school that I teach at, and the kids support each other. They all have their own individual needs and personalities, and personalities. However, they're always cheering, and I really support that, and they feel comfortable with the people. And if they don't, we work on that too. And there are, of course, times, what is perfection, in this area or in any area? It's making adjustments to make the situation the best that you can make it in the moment that you're dealing with that situation. So I'm really good at that. I'm very sensitive to their needs, and and I have help in my classes. If I have a class of 10 or 12 kids, I have an assistant or two that can help me out, because if you've met, each personality can be very different. And so my book talks all about my teaching, my background, the methods that I use. And as I said, a lot of patience, a lot of compassion, a lot of knowledge. I've been training martial arts for well over 40 years. But yes, that's not as important, the skill level, although it certainly is an asset, as much as knowing how to work with the people. And
So, how did you get started in working with children on the autism spectrum? Because I know you have a karate martial arts background, but then how did the whole, how did, working with so many children on the autism spectrum come to be?
well, I started my business full time in 1991. Yeah, almost when the dinosaurs were roaming the earth at this point, it feels like. But uh, I was teaching at my studio, and one of my students' moms was an occupational therapist, and she was working with two boys who were 9 years old. And this is just about 30 years ago. She was working with these two boys, and she called me up one day and she said, would you be interested in working with two boys who are on the spectrum? And I don't even know if she said on the spectrum. That wasn't even a buzzword back then.
Yeah.
I don't even remember exactly what she said, how she categorized that. But I said, yeah, absolutely. And so I started working with these two boys that were 9 years old privately, well, 2-on-1, both of them. And I go, this is very, very interesting, very, very cool, very, very rewarding. And it just kind of mushroomed up, expanded out from there. In fact, the boy, a little quick footnote, the boy who's 9 years old, John, is one of them. The other one is Julian. John is now 39 years old, and I just saw him this morning. He's my longest standing student. I've been working with him for 30 years. He's 39 years old now, and I
Wow.
just had a private session with him this morning, and he's doing great. He's now independent living in a place here in Marin County, California, that's called Life House, that provides independent living with supervision. And he's doing great. He's got a job. He cooks his own food. He writes his own check. He does the chores there. I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined that he would be in this place now. And he's a good martial artist. He is actually a black belt with me. He went up through the ranks: yellow belt, blue belt, green belt, purple belt, 3 degrees of brown belt, black belt. And he's very gentle and very easy, very internal, very easygoing. And then from there, parents started to talk. I got hired at a couple of schools that cater to this demographic. And that gave me a lot more credibility. And it just, I don't know, all of a sudden here, 32 years later, or 30 years later, here I am with a full practice of not only working on the spectrum, but mainstream, and, I'm go, go, go all the time. So
There A
go ahead.
couple things that I'd like for you to cover are, I know that there are literally studies out about martial arts having benefits for social engagement also, but as well as the brain's planning centers and certain things like that. So you can maybe speak to the benefits that you know of that are literally happening for the children. But then I would love some kind of before or after, kinds of situations where you have seen these kids who come in probably with really high anxiety and more social problems and issues, and they maybe can barely be in the classroom at all,
Right.
because a lot of parents are dealing with this right now. Maybe kind
Right.
of a little bit of the transition of how you work with them, and then now, of course, this one boy 30 years later at 39 years old, what was he like at 9 years old versus what he's like at 39, and that kind of that transformation. I mean, speak to that a little bit so we can kind of get a gist from the inside.
Yeah. Well, speaking of my student John, who's been with me for 30 years, he he's always been very, very subdued and quiet. He suffers, he internalizes his anxiety. And but he's come such a long way. I mean, I have him now doing Karen and audience, doing spinning back fists, spinning back heel kicks. And he, for the longest time, resisted all of that and said, I just can't do it. I won't do it. Now I have him doing jump kicks, which he again resisted for many, many years. And I would say, I would suggest it to him, expose it to him, show it to him visually or physically. I would do it, and just planting seeds and nurturing them over a period of time. And eventually he just opened up. And now this morning I had him throwing spinning back fists, spinning elbows, spinning back heel kicks, roundhouse kicks, front jump kicks, jumping knees. And even 10 years ago, I never would have envisioned that he'd be doing that. So he's really just evolved as a person. And, and I know how to work with him because I know him so well. He's like an extended family member being with me for that long. However, each person, I really believe, has their own time frame. And we want to plant seeds, nurture them, suggest and see how they respond. And again, myself, one of the qualities that I use is the sensitivity of seeing how they respond to know whether to open a little bit more, to push a little bit more. I don't even know if I like that word push,
Right,
but
push can be hard. Yeah.
yeah, because to encourage a little bit more or to back off on the encouragement. And just, I found that everyone has their time frame. And the thing is to expose them to that and to let them know that it's safe and when you're ready. And I will be there to present it, and little tidbits of presentation to see how they're doing, to see if they're opening up a little bit more, their mind, their body, their expression. Some, and many do, some don't. It just, again, it's a very individual thing. But the martial arts is excellent for that. And I really emphasize doing, even in my classes, I'll have the kids sit for a little bit and I'll work with, that's why I don't take too big of a class, 10 at most. And even I prefer even less, just so I can really individualize my work. And I almost always have in a class that's maybe 5 or 6 and above, always have an assistant just to help with the pads and the equipment or whatever we're using, and just to work with me and follow my lead. Martial arts to me is beyond wonderful for this demographic if you can find the right program. Beyond wonderful, because a lot of the kids are not really interested in doing anything physical. They want to do, their games, their computers, the TV, more digital. And so I have this rule that I spoke about in my book called the 1 hour rule. If you're doing 1 hour on TV, you want to move and I know this sounds like a big deal, and it kind of is. You want to move your body, go out and get some fresh air, walk, do something where you're away from all the TV and laptops and et cetera, for a period of time. So try to balance that out. But getting back to martial arts, I make sure that my students get exercise, which is so good for the brain, the body, the emotions. And being that it's martial arts, it's fitness, and it's way more than fitness because you're using the whole brain. And I have a method that I use that I really give a certain type of specific instruction, so they have to concentrate even if they're not concentrating. And I've heard so many times, "Oh, Sensei Al, I've lost my concentration." And I said, "That's okay." I said, "We're going to bring it back right away. And this is what we're going to do." And so I have methods that I use and visuals as well, not only instructional, because some people are, visual and other people are more instructional, and it just depends on who we're working with. And so the martial arts, it blends coordination, agility, and I'm not asking anybody to be the next Jackie Chan or anything like that, just following, and I know how to, each person, once I get a feel for their personality, even a new student, doesn't take me too long to size them up. I know what moves they're going to feel comfortable doing and what moves they're not going to feel. So they feel inspired and have a reference point of success and encouragement without overdoing the encouragement. I don't want him to say, "Oh, he's saying that all the time." Yeah, it's like brush your teeth after that. No, the right amount of encouragement for the right personality, and for some reason, I'm able to size up or sense that, and this is, and as I've said before, or I said earlier, I found my calling. This is, I'm not a techie person. I mean, I could do it if I had to. I could learn. That doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't come natural to me. This comes natural to me. So the martial arts, the exercise, the gross and fine motor skill utilization is so important. Like I have, like John this morning, I have him doing this series of blocks where he goes lift block, cross block, down block with the same hand, then immediately switch to the other, lift block, cross block. And you get into a rhythm where the brain gets locked into the body, and it's a coordination and an agility. And I'm amazed that I have a lot of students that can really do this, and they love it because it really takes all their internal concentration and energy into movement, and they feel great. They request it, something like that. And just to, I have a girl that I worked with the other day who has Prader-Willi, and she's got autism also, but a little bit different. And, I've got her now doing, which I never would have fathomed in my wildest dream, I've got her doing roundhouse kicks. She moves very slowly, but her form is amazing. She's really form oriented, and she's pretty verbal when she wants to talk. And so she lets me know. Now I work with her privately. She doesn't let me leave her house. She goes, "Can we do this? Can we do a hammer fist? Can we do a cross elbow? Can we do an outside chop?" And it's incredible. I mean, I charge her for my fee is for 1 hour. I spent 2 hours there the other day just because, how could I say no to her? Yeah. And she was so enthusiastic. So
and you don't see that kind of enthusiasm from them unless there's something they're obsessive about, but it's not always a positive thing like this. Like, obviously she's enjoying it. They're really good at those rhythmic movements, and being given something that is specific to do, then they know this is exactly what to do. And then if you repeat it and then they get better at it, it builds their self-confidence. In some of these methods that you're talking about, do you mention those, or do you go into those in the book too?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's an easy read, but there's a lot of meat on the bones. It's not, I would say very little or no fluff whatsoever. It's all like, I guess the nuts and bolts of the teaching and who I am and why I am in this industry and why I've been successful in doing what I do, and the reasons why it's so beneficial to people who are on the spectrum who practice martial arts. And like I said, fitness, concentration, socialization, opening up the energy gates in the body so they feel more alive, getting the endorphins going. Now, you asked me, Karen, how do I work with really anxious students? A lot that if I had the total answer for that, I would, I would can it and coin it. But I really do my best to let them know who I am, that I'm, again, safe, that they can be comfortable and be who they are with me, and give them like some slack to express themselves. So I'm not saying putting them in a box whatsoever. Of course, I have to have some discipline if it's in a class, But if it's one-on-one, they have a little bit more slack to express their anxiety. And then I say, okay, I understand that, and I know how you feel. And we're, eh, if you will, we're still going to do some movements. And I have a lot of equipment that I bring that they find fascinating. Many of the students find it fascinating. My pads, my hand pads, my kicking pads. I have all kinds of very interesting martial arts equipment that really gets their attention. And so, now, are we going to use this? Oh, this is really cool. So when they see me come in with all this, my bag, and carrying all this equipment, and I'll take some things out of my bag, I know how to capture their attention. And then many times I have them with me on the same page. So, but I've been kicked, spit on, scratched, hit, sworn at. I've gone through I've run the gamut. Yeah, as I said I work with this organization out here, this wonderful organization called Project Awareness and Special Sports, and they provide sports for kids up to, I think, 21. Soccer and basketball and lacrosse, and many, many volunteers. And, we have a martial arts program, which through them has been very successful. And
is this all for kids with special needs? Or
yes, all for kids with special needs.
Okay.
Yeah, they have hip hop and yoga, and I mean, incredible array of programs. And I've been very fortunate to be linked with them. They've been very, very supportive of my work, and they've really helped to put it out in the community, my teaching and in classes. And that's another avenue that has helped me to build my practice in this area.
Yeah.
So, I've been around the block a few times with with my experience, and it's in the book too. And I say not everything that I do has been successful. I'm being real, but for the majority and the feedback and my book opens up with as you open it up, it opens up with testimonials from my clients, written testimonials from my clients here in Mill Valley, California, San Rafael, California. And many are very, from everyone from doctors and therapists and just people that I've worked with for a long time, and their kids who are now, many of them who are now adults. And I have about, I don't know, 12 to 14 pretty lengthy testimonials of how it's benefited their family, not only the kids, but the family as well. Right. So, it carries over, and as you know, it carries over into the family. And if you have an opportunity, it's a very unique book. Like I said, I'm not an author by trade. I'm a martial artist and a Tai Chi practitioner and teacher. However, I had a lot to say, teaching many thousands of classes and hundreds of students on the Spectrum umbrella, under the Spectrum umbrella.
So, Al, I'm wondering for referrals, because not everybody's in California or near you. So if a parent wanted to find someone like you, which I think your book sounds like a tremendous resource for all educators and other people who work with children on the autism spectrum, no matter what they're doing, for a parent to share with people who work with their children. But I'm wondering if you have additional resources, a kind of a global one, or at least something within the United States where people could find someone that is similar to you or does the work that you do with these children in physical fitness, like you had said, this other program with special needs. So do you have any referral base by chance?
Well, what I tell parents and people is, in different geographic locations, is because there's so many places, martial arts is so widespread. And when I Google to see what other people are doing, other instructors, nationally and internationally, I see a lot of programs and I'll Google martial arts, on the autism spectrum, almost like the title of my book, or working teaching martial arts to the autism population. And what I suggest, I don't, I mean, if you're in Chicago, you're in Chicago. If you're in, LA or, Des Moines, you want to find if there's someone working there, or a school, a dojo that's teaching, that has experience. And what I tell people is the most important thing is the sensitivity and of the person to be
Individual.
able to work.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've seen some of the greatest martial artists, and I wouldn't send anybody to them because they just don't have that awareness, the sensitivity, the ability to connect with their students and to feel the chemistry of what they're doing in the room. So I tell parents, if you find a school that is promoting working with, and it's really common now because autism is so diagnosed, it's everywhere. That go and sit in, interview the the teacher, the sensei, sit in on a class, see how he or she works or how they work, and then you'll have a much better feel. And if you feel any red flags for whatever reason, it could be they came in 5 minutes late, or professionalism is at the top of my level. If somebody's in some way, that means being punctual, being respectful, looking the people in the eye, knowledgeable, sensitive, listening, all those skills, especially working in this demographic.
And these are the key skills, I think, when you're seeking out anybody who's going to work with your child, especially your sensitive child with autism. But,
Yes,
teachers, medical practitioners, therapists, all kinds, everybody. That should be, parents should, they are their child's advocate. Don't be afraid to go out there and interview the people who you might hire to work with your child. Even if that's a doctor, you're hiring them, or a therapist. You want to make sure that you have a good resonance for that person. I always say, use your gut instinct. Go, don't be afraid to ask them questions and see how they answer, and their personality, and if you feel that they could resonate with your child as well. Because as you're saying, Al, a lot of people might be wonderful in what they do, but they're not that great with people. Especially a special needs child who might get, anxious on them. Do they have patience? Could they handle that? Do they know what to do? Do they have any experience? All of these are good questions to ask.
Yeah. And also I tell them, check their references.
Yes.
Speak to other parents who have worked with the potential prospective teacher. Check the references, see what they say, because that's really, and like you said, absolutely, with your doctor, your therapist. I mean, that's very important. So yeah, check the references, see. That's why I get a lot of references, because people know who I am and know that I am capable, and that's the kind of person you want.
Right.
And I wish I could divide myself in quarters so I could go here, there, and everywhere, at the same time, but I can't. So, you want to check the references and interview them, get it, like you said, Karen, get a really good feel for, this, yeah, super important. This is our son or daughter. I mean, this is our family. And
teachers and therapists and doctors, they have a big impact. I mean, we can all remember a teacher that said something negative to us when we were a young child and how it may have impacted us, and a very positive, great teacher that we loved and the positive impact they may have had. These are, they really make a difference that can stick with you. So you want it to be a positive one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a teacher of my teacher when I was living in Florida before I moved to California, and he was a renowned martial arts sensei, and he was internationally known. And I had him sign a book for a book that we were all using, that had forms and everything. And he wrote on it, and this is in 1980s. I don't know, remember when it was exactly, mid 80s probably. And he wrote, practice, practice, practice. The way will show itself, is what he said to me. And I'm going like, I thought he was going to write, hey, Al, you're a wonderful martial art or something like that. And it was like, I kind of deflated. But it always stuck with me, and I just kept practicing. And the way did show itself. So, like what you're saying, exactly, spot on what you're saying. Yeah, practice, practice, practice. I just kept training, training, training. I had no idea I'd be doing this for my livelihood.
Me
it
either.
showed
You
up.
never know.
Yeah, you never know. And some people know and some people don't know. And I found out when I found out, and in 1991, and haven't looked back since. So yeah, no,
Well,
it sticks with people what teachers say and how
yeah.
they conduct themselves.
Well, Al, thank you again so much for being here today. So, everybody, you're listening to Al Loren. The name of the book is Martial Arts on the Autism Spectrum. And Al, what is a website or resource how people can find you?
It's my first and last. It's Al Loren, ALLOREN, martialarts.com. And my book is actually already a bestseller on Amazon in 3 categories. So you can find my book on Amazon. Just either Google my name or Al Loren Martial Arts. LOREN is the last name. And you'll find it. It'll come up. And yeah.
All right.
Great.
And I will also link to it in the show notes for you as well, so that for our listeners to be able to easily find it too. Because some people might be driving their car right now, or don't have a pen and paper on their run or
Yeah.
something. So I'll make sure I'll add it into the show notes for you.
Okay, great. All
Yeah.
right.
All right. Well, thank you, Al, for being here today, sharing with us, for writing this tremendous book that I think sounds like a wonderful resource for a lot of educators of all fields to utilize from the skills that you're able to share to help work with sensitive children on the autism spectrum and their special needs, and making sure that they're cared for the way they should be, and that we all always make them feel included and show them positivity, and build their self-esteem, because those things are really important, because they sometimes don't always feel like they fit in or know who they are. Not that anybody really does, but it's always helpful to have additional skills. So your book and your resources, I think, shall be very helpful. So again, thank you, and thank you for working with all of these children and making such a positive impact in their lives.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Karen.
It's
Appreciate
my
it.
pleasure.
Happy holidays to
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right.
We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.